Oh, you know what? I was just going to say let's talk this out, but I think I just got it. All right, so let's see. So, we've been talking a lot about this pleasure, and you want to up your baseline and stop tolerating all these things. Yet it's still important that you're doing that from inside. So that's the distinction. Okay. I couldn't figure something out. I noticed with a few people that let's just take relationships. They get into relationships. They get bored. Let's use that word because that's really what it is. And then they just want to jump to the next or go back to what pleased them last. So what it is they're still operating externally for pleasure. They're still seeking outwardly because they don't know how to connect inwardly. And so I hope you're hearing all this. So it started off by showing me somebody who wasn't capable of staying in a long-term relationship. And it was like they kept getting bored. And it was like, what is it? And it was like they're a brat. And then it was more than that. It's like they're so egotistical, and it's more than that. And it's like you could label them probably a version of narcissism, but it's even more than that. Like it was really, we kept trying to dig on this person where it's like they just have always been handed everything. They really don't know. It's the idea of like, it's a shame. It was like a disservice that was done to them. That's what happens a lot of times with some of these kids who, they don't know themselves. They don't know how to know themselves. They don't know they're really worthy because they've always been given everything. So they expect everything. They have no, it's like respect for human life, right? Anybody else. They think they are it. And the world revolves around them. And on one hand, this is why it's tricky, because you'll hear a lot of people teach that, and it can be true if it's heard from the higher vibration and understood in the correct way. Unfortunately, that's not always the case. So, when that is spoken that way, it is not suggesting you have a disregard for anyone else. But that's making the assumption that they're coming from their highest and best and know what the fuck that means. Many do not. And so they become these arrogant, egotistical pricks who could give a fuck about anybody else, which again is why the one and only number one rule is in place. Do unto others as you want done to yourself. It helps these pricks realize what they're doing, Oh, God. So if they're willing to take any introspection at all. A lot of times they're not. Truly, honestly, like even if they heard this, they still wouldn't snap out of it. They only snap out of it when they get smacked hard enough, loud enough, understand it. Otherwise, they will spend their lives chasing and excusing. So they're chasing that next thrill because they can get it. They can get it. And that's all they look for 24/7 is pleasure. And that is what the mind does. That's what the ego does. And so it's always seeking, moving towards pleasure. Not a bad thing, but it's understanding the rules of the game. And they do not. And they don't follow the rules of the game because they've never had to. And they can get away with it. The thing is, it's not that it's not only awful to other people, yes, but they don't understand that they're actually doing themselves a disservice. It's like, yes, you're a prick, but they could give a fuck. They don't care that they're a prick. That has no effect on them. They just think you're a whiny bitch. So it's not that. It's like, no, you're doing a disservice to yourself. You're not happy. You're not. You keep getting that instant fix that is getting more and more challenging to receive because you can't sustain it, because you become so addicted that now, it's like they were showing me this one person who he in himself is a whore, but then that's what he does. He hires whores. But now he can't even get off on that, right? And then he does drugs, but now he can't even get off on that. And then it's like they have reached their max limit, which they never think or thought they could, right? They always thought they could find more thrills, more thrills, more thrills, until one day it doesn't work anymore, right? And that's when the real fucking crash happens. But we talk about this when you're operating from your ego and you're accumulating that karma, the smack's going to be harder because you can't hear. But so it's that idea where it's like not a damn thing can bring them back to life, right? Like they're so unhappy and they've gotten so far from themselves and the damage they've done to their body, mind, and soul in the interim in chasing that feeling good feeling. Whew. So to reconnect with oneself after all the damage they've done ignoring themselves, to actually learn what it feels, to get the high that they've been seeking this entire time, is going to be so much more challenging for somebody like that. Versus us, like everyday Joes, who end up, yeah, we have our highs and lows, we have this, we have that, but it's like this person was just so obnoxiously greedy. I mean, it was like every breath was creating karma because they had no care for anything outside themselves. They treat everything. They treated women like livestock. They treat everything like an object. And so, again, it's filling the fix of the immediate for the ego. But it's not ever able to satiate them. So they have to do more. So this is why they end up becoming like greedy or hoarding or gluttonous in whatever it is they're doing. Because they're upping that ante. So we've talked about that, right? Like you want to up your baseline. But again, this is the key difference. This is really important. It sounds almost funny or comical or obvious, right? Because I'm giving you such an obvious an example. And many of us have seen that. You've seen that clown, that joker who ages and just looks like a clown. And it just is obvious to us, right? You've seen that all over the place. But it's not obvious to them. And they really are sad and hurt and now angry and miserable. And that's dangerous. But there's been so many enablers along the way, likely starting with their mother, who told them how wonderful they were. They could do no wrong, right? And it's like, well, you're creating a monster who now hates everyone, especially women, right? It's like, oh, God. Yeah, so that was the key difference. Because, so I don't know if it's important to share the other part where it's like, we were talking about, well, you do always want to up your baseline. So this is why I was like, well, I'm confused. Why is it such a stark difference? Well, the stark difference between the two is that. It's that, right? It's different when you're upping your baseline from inside versus from outside. Because the outside's an illusion. The outside comes and goes. So if you don't know how to do it from the inside, you're fucked. You're going to be that, it's the cliche of like the aging player, right? But on every scale. So it's like, obviously not everybody has that problem, but whatever your fix is, right? Until you learn how to turn that switch on internally, that's going to be your version of the aging player, the so sad, right? But we do see extreme cases now of one leading to the next because everybody has gotten so topsy-turvy of that outward seeking that they are becoming more addicted to many things, including that mental addiction, like meaning whatever belief it is, right? And it's that it's going down that train of needing to seek outwardly for acceptance, for approval, for belonging, for love, for anything and everything. And so it's like that belief is becoming embedded because they are receiving the instant hits, the instant pleasures, and then they're becoming greedy and gluttonous, and it's becoming worse and worse and worse. But they can't see it, and they just need to feed that monster. Because again, it's coming from lower energies. Because again, it's not coming from your heart. It's not your truest desire. You're not listening to your truest desire. Right? You're not listening to your real need. and you don't know how to fill that real need from the inside out. So it's not quenchable. It's not, you can't satiate it. And so they continue to up the ante outwardly and can't figure out why. Until they become these dangerous monsters. But we've all created them. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like, don't slide away. Like, I feel people being like, oh yeah, totally. And it's like, but we're all part of that. We're all part of that. Anytime we're not loving ourselves, we're not standing up for ourselves. I mean, I'm looking at my shoe closet right now. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I would fill a sadness need, a worthiness need, an unlovable need by shopping, right? Like we're all doing this, but not just to ourselves and in sneaky, sly ways. I just gave an obvious one, but there's a billion of them I've had to break. But it's not just that, because it is what I said. It's like, oh, I tried shopping, eating, blah, 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 blah. You just keep going and going. And then you're like, this isn't fucking working. Why isn't any of this shit working? Right? And it's like, oh, thank God. You're finally listening. But I mean, we're also part of the problem with others because we enable others, because we don't stand in our truth, or we don't call people out, or we don't move away, or we don't stop accepting the behaviors. Like, in other words, a lot of times, so I gave the very easy example of the mother who always tells the son how spectacular they are. And maybe it's because they have low self-esteem, so they're trying to overpump but it's like all this is done in the wrong way, because it's still teaching the children to seek outwardly. Now you need your mother's approval, and she's going to dote on you. You're so special. You are so special. You are so smart. You are so handsome. And then they get out into the real world and people are like, you are the dumbest, ugliest person I've ever met. What do you mean? You monster. I know I'm perfect. My mother told me, right? And then they think you're vicious. And it's like, all of this is awful. This is all awful. This is all awful, right? It's like everybody just needs to get in their own lane, right? Get in your own head, get in your own alignment, love yourself, figure out what that means for you and figure out what to do, right? In other words, figure out what to do when you enter those scenarios, because we're going to have all types of those scenarios. You might see yourself and then realize you've surrounded yourself by yourself. Everybody else who hates themselves, or everybody else who's judging everybody else or calling everybody else out, or they're alcoholics or drug addicts or filling a need with shopping, eating, whatever it is. And then you try to hold the line and do better and do this, but then people start to hate you or throw rocks on you, or, this kind of thing. It's like you have to learn how to navigate all of that. And the real question always boils down to, how much do you love yourself and your life, and are you designing it, or are you tolerating? Are you tolerating constantly and putting up with things? It's like being in a frozen, getting pushed into a frozen pool, and all your friends and family are standing around you, and you're like, oh my God, I'm really cold and I'm too cold to get out. Can somebody help me out? And they're all like, what? Shut up. Can you stop complaining? No, I'm freezing. Can somebody help me? I can't even get out. I'm actually having a hard time even talking anymore. I'm getting so cold and so numb. Would you stop complaining? And it's like, wow, right? They don't care as long as you shut the fuck up. And then they still don't care, right? Like, it's like, so it's like, okay, well, this is not the right environment. This is not the right environment, right? And so you have to love yourself enough for that, because a lot of people will adjust to that temperature and they'll start to warm up and do fine in the pool, and they'll just deal with it, right? We just deal with it. We just tolerate it. We make do. And then we start, oh no, I love the pool. No, I really do love the pool. No, I love being in the pool. It's fine. Right? It's like, oh God. Right? We normalize things that we don't want to normalize. We can't figure a way out. We're looking for others to save us or help us, and it's like, bottom line is, consider it this: nobody gives a fuck. You're on your own. Do you know how to navigate that? Do you love yourself enough to navigate that? Or are you always going to be codependent and enmeshed with people who don't give a fuck? So you go back into that pool and you're just stuck in that pool. These are all choices we're making constantly. And I know I'm being dramatic, but it's so you can hear through it, right? Usually we say everything much softer and people can't hear it, right? We say, just be selfish, love yourself, and people can't hear it. But when you boil it down and you weed through it and you sort through it and you explain, because people are like, I don't understand them, why we're in narcissist and empath, and who's the narcissist and who's the empath, and what's really up and what's really down. Like, what if everybody's doing what they love? Well, if everybody just does what they love without the caveat of the number one rule, meaning for your highest and best, which means it's the highest and best for all, meaning do unto others as you want done unto yourself, meaning love yourself like you want to love others. Don't treat yourself like you don't want to treat others. Don't do unto others as you don't want done to yourself. However you want to say it, if you don't put that caveat in there, we have wild monsters running left, right, and center. And you'll have people who truly, truly will not hold that in place, that principle. And so what happens is they get away with it longer and longer and longer. And more people see them getting away with it longer and longer and longer. And they follow suit. So we have lousy leaders teaching everybody how to behave like that. And then when the big smack comes, when they fall, when shit happens that people don't like, and they say, well, what happened? What happened? What happened? Well, let's take a look, right? It's like, what do you mean? That's what you put out. That's what you put out. You wanted to win. You wanted to be on top. You wanted to kick other people down. You wanted to tear them out of their seat. You wanted to push people out of the way. You wanted to steal and take. That is living in a world of lack. That is saying you aren't good enough. You aren't strong enough. There isn't enough. So you must steal. You must take. You must push. You must shove to get what's yours. So it's coming from a place that you're not worthy. You're going to have to fight like a dog because you live in a world of lack. And that means you got to act like a prick and get in the boxing ring. Wow. Is that the world we want to live in? But what happens when you get knocked out and you go, what happened? Why'd I get knocked out? Because you wanted to knock out. So what you put out came back. You were coming from a lower energy. You were manifesting, desiring, wishing, and praying from a lower energy. Saying that you weren't good enough, you weren't worthy, you were living in lack. You have to hear that. You have to understand that. So you stop doing that. And you start to love yourself and recognize that you are worthy, you are good enough, you live in a world of abundance, and you're only competing against yourself. So live in your own lane and only do better each day for yourself. So hopefully you got this. This was a very long-winded way about them showing me somebody who was upping their baseline, but they couldn't figure out why they could never get happy. They were running, like they'd get in one relationship that would be fabulous, but they would get bored because they're a brat. They're a spoiled brat. And so God forbid they have any downtime. Oh, that was the other thing. So it was very interesting to me because that was the other thing. It was like, we do have to have the contrast, because as I've explained in other ones, without the contrast, it's like actually we love the contrast because we like to feel good, right? Like we like to feel better than we felt. And so we love that feeling. We like that feeling of relief. We like that feeling of release, but we want it to be pure pleasure. But that does mean there are downtimes. But again, the downtimes are for us. So if this person is going from relationship to relationship because God forbid he feels any downtime, any negative, no wonder he can never get in a relationship. No wonder he can never be fully satisfied. No wonder he's chasing something that doesn't exist because he doesn't understand the concept. The reason that he can feel the pleasure he has is because he can also have the ability to feel the negative, but he won't allow himself to feel the negative. He'll just jump. So he'll always jump because he's too scared to feel bad. So he keeps running from his own feelings. And he feels bad because he's likely having to face a hard truth about himself. And he doesn't want to face that truth. But not facing that truth is denying his own pleasure. He can't feel the high he wants to feel, so he keeps seeking outwardly. Do you see this problem? Does anybody hear this? Please, God, tell me I make sense to you, because this is big. This is what a lot of people are doing. Because they refuse to face the hard truths about themselves and go inwardly and face themselves, they just continue to run from themselves and seek that external pleasure that is only momentary. It doesn't last for them. So then they can't ever, it's like they can't ever build. They can't ever sustain oneself. They can't ever fully satiate themselves. They're never really at peace. And so we have to face those hard truths about ourselves for ourselves, because we really want to feel pleasure. Well, if you really want to feel pleasure, you have to recognize what you're saying and telling yourself, where you're coming from, what you were operating from, right? Like, you have to face that. Like, yes, it's hard to swallow that shit. But don't you want to be happy? Don't you want to feel pleasure? Real pleasure? Right? Because you've already established and recognized the truth is the random sex, the shopping, the drugs, the alcohol, the lavish whatever isn't doing shit. It's just aging you and making you look old and ridiculous. Right? Like, it's like you get to that point where you're like, oh shit. Right? That deep ache isn't going anywhere. Nope. You got to take a look for yourself. Again, it's like, it's almost like people think like, oh, do it for everybody else, or like they'll be embarrassed, or it's like all this like weird connections, and it's like, no, fuck everybody else. Do it for you. Because you actually want to feel pleasure. So that means you have to face the fact that you're an asshole. I can't tell you how many people I know that the truth is they would probably be clinically diagnosed with names they'd be horrified by. But if they can take a look at those things and unravel those things and swallow those pills, it's shocking, it's challenging. This is the stuff that drives people crazy, or they refuse and they go out that way. Or they do it and they make a change and they're like, you know what? I'm going to love me. I'm going to operate from my highest and best. I'm going to live my life. I'm going to stop tolerating. I'm going to stop pleasing. I'm going to stop living for everybody else to approve of, or for everybody else to judge or deem as okay. Right? That's the other thing. It's like, whose life are you living? People set up their lives and it's like, well, now everybody's pleased. My family loves me. My friends love me because now I'm living the life they want. Well, are you happy? Oh no, I'm wildly miserable. But nobody gives a fuck about how I really am. They don't really care if I'm happy. They just need me to follow suit. You know, put on this suit, put on this hat, live in this marriage, do these things, and then they're happy. That's what's important. My happiness is not in the equation. It's like, okay. And you're going to keep up with that? Yeah, that's what I got to do. Otherwise, all these people will be unhappy. Wow, that's a lot of pressure for one person. You're willing to take it on? Well, I have no other choice. You don't have another choice? Well, I mean, I do, but, right? And it's like people just aren't willing to do all that. And it's like, okay, that's fine. Just so you are aware and you're recognizing that you will be miserable until the day you die. You just accept and live. For everybody else, you're going to be juggling all their balls and all their to-do list. And you're always going to be carrying the weight of all their burdens and all of their impossible asks and being their show monkey until you're ready to cut the cords and be like, you all deal with your own shit. Judge away, judge yourselves, judge others, whatever the fuck you want to do, but I'm out of here. I'm going to go be happy, you know, but you have to do that for you and you have to figure that out. And at the same time, be careful, right? Like there's a lot of other people who I just explained to the opposite. They just jump from relationship to relationship to relationship to relationship because the second it gets hard or the second it gets real or the second it gets authentic, they're like, fuck this, I'm out of here. But then they can never experience the deep pleasure of being authentically them, taking their mask off and being real. So they'll never be fully satiated because they also aren't capable of diving deep. So they'll never get high. They're always going to be seeking outwardly and it'll be right? Just one after the next, after the next, after the next, because they can't satiate it. They can't sustain it. They aren't actually ever satisfied. And so then they continue to blame everything outside themselves as well. They're not satisfied because, and it's the whole list of, well, they weren't good enough, or they were this, or they were that, or never taking accountability, never taking ownership. They're perfect. It's nobody else's problem. It's not their problem. It's everybody else's, right? So it's like, this is all, I could go on and on. Anyway, I think you heard. I think I got out everything. Oh, no, I don't. I don't feel like I got everything out, but I need to stop. Thanks so much for tuning in and listening. You can now purchase an audio journey with me using the link below.